carrying a baby named Moses, floats gently among the reeds. He is discovered by the Pharaoh's own daughter, whose compassion shines as she rescues him, raising him as a prince in the glittering palaces of Egypt. As a young man, Moses is adorned in gold and fine linen, but his heart is troubled by the suffering of his people, the Hebrew slaves. In a moment of rage, he defends one of them, forcing him to flee into the vast, unforgiving desert. He finds a new, simple life in the land of Midian, becoming a shepherd and building a family. For years, the desert is his home. Until one day, on a rocky mountainside, he sees the impossible, a bush engulfed in flames, yet not consumed by the fire. From the heart of the blaze, the voice of God calls out, commissioning him for a great purpose, to return to Egypt and demand the freedom of his people. Armed with only his shepherd's staff and his brother Aaron by his side, Moses stands before the mighty Pharaoh. But Pharaoh's heart is hard, and his refusal unleashes a terrible judgment upon Egypt. The river turns to blood, plagues of frogs and locusts descend, and darkness falls, each miracle a plea for freedom, each one met with defiance. The final devastating plague passes over the homes of the Israelites, who are saved by the blood of a lamb, but claims the firstborn of Egypt. Broken, Pharaoh finally relents, and Moses leads a massive exodus of people out of Egypt and into the wilderness. But Pharaoh's pride is not so easily defeated. He sends his entire army, his chariots and horses, thundering after the fleeing slaves. The Israelites are trapped, with the Red Sea before them and the forces of Egypt behind them. In this moment of despair, Moses raises his staff. The waters themselves obey the command of God, parting into colossal, towering walls, creating a path of dry land straight through the depths. The people rush to safety, and as the last person reaches the far shore, Moses turns. The walls of water crash down, swallowing the Egyptian army and securing their deliverance. Yet their journey is far from over. For 40 years they wander the wilderness. God provides for them, raining down bread from heaven called manna each morning and bringing water gushing from solid rock with a strike from Moses' staff. They come to the foot of a trembling, smoke-shrouded Mount Sinai. There Moses ascends into the presence of God and receives the foundation of divine law, the 10 Commandments, etched by the very finger of God onto tablets of stone. Despite his unwavering leadership, Moses himself is not without fault. In a moment of anger, he disobeys God, and as a consequence, he is forbidden from entering the beautiful promised land he has led his people to for 40 years. In his final scene, an old and wise Moses stands atop Mount Nebo. The wind whispers through his long white beard as he gazes out across the Jordan River. A shaft of golden sunlight illuminates his face, a face etched with a lifetime of struggle and faith. He looks upon the vast, beautiful land of Canaan, a promise fulfilled for his people, his own journey ending in a powerful mix of peace, sacrifice, and ultimate devotion. In the quiet, sun-scorched wilderness of Midian, a man named Moses was tending his flock. It was a solitary life, a world of dust and rock under an endless sky. But one ordinary day, an extraordinary sight caught his eye. A lone bush was on fire, blazing with a brilliant flame. But as he watched, he saw the impossible. The bush was not burning up. Its leaves remained green and vibrant, untouched by the devouring fire. Drawn by this miracle, Moses moved closer. And then, a voice called out from the very heart of the flames. "Moses, Moses!" He froze, his heart pounding. The voice commanded, "Do not come any closer. Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground." With trembling hands, Moses obeyed, humbled and afraid. The voice spoke again. "I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob." God had seen the misery of his people in Egypt and heard their cries. He promised to rescue them, to bring them to a land flowing with milk and honey. And then came the unthinkable command. Moses was to go to Pharaoh and lead his people to freedom. Overwhelmed, Moses looked at his own rough hands, a simple shepherd. "Who am I," he whispered, "that I should go to Pharaoh?" But the voice was firm and reassuring. "I will be with you." In that moment, everything changed. The shepherd in the wilderness was gone. In his place stood a man chosen for an impossible task, armed not with a sword but with a promise. "I am who I am has sent you." The Nile River, the lifeblood of Egypt, ran red as blood. The water became undrinkable, and the fish died, filling the air with a terrible stench. It was a divine judgment, and it was only the beginning. Then came the frogs. They were everywhere. In the palaces, the homes, the beds. A slimy, hopping invasion that no one could escape. When that didn't work, the very dust of the earth turned into gnats, a swirling, irritating cloud that tormented every man and animal. Next, swarms of flies descended, a buzzing plague of filth. But in a clear sign of who was being judged, the land where the Israelites lived remained completely untouched. A terrible pestilence struck next, killing the Egyptians' livestock in the fields, while the animals of the Israelites remained perfectly healthy. Then, painful boils broke out on the skin of the people and their remaining animals. The mighty magicians of Egypt were themselves covered, powerless to stop it. Moses then warned of a storm like no other. Hail and fire rained from the sky, destroying crops and shattering the land, a display of raw, destructive power. What the hail left behind, the locusts devoured. A living, dark cloud of insects descended, stripping the land bare, leaving only desolation in their wake. Then a darkness fell, a thick, heavy darkness that could be felt. For 3 days, no one in Egypt moved, trapped in an oppressive gloom, while light shone in the homes of the Israelites. The final plague was the most terrible of all. In every Egyptian home, the firstborn son died. But the Israelites were safe. They had followed God's command, marking their doors with the blood of a lamb, and the plague passed over them. Broken and defeated, Pharaoh finally surrendered. The God of Israel had proven his power over all the gods of Egypt. And as the sun rose, a people who were once slaves walked out of Egypt, free at last. Music swells to a triumphant, hopeful theme, then fades,